Hi everyone, it's Leonore. Welcome to Soul Searching Tarot. I am going to do a spiritual video, spiritual awakening, enlightenment, blah blah blah. Yada yada yada. You know how I love to do that. For those who are watching me for the first time or don't know too much of my content on this platform, I do integrate astrology and tarot card reading, but once in a while I like to talk about spirituality. And today I'm going to be talking about oneness. It's actually a part 2 of the One Truth, One Religion, One Human Race video I just did a few days ago. Was not my intention to do this today, folks. I really wanted to do the insight and information on Aries and Cancer. I said I was going to do it. And I will. It's just that this Mercury retrograde is blowing my mind. Literally. I can't stop getting downloads and researching, and Mercury is the planet of communication, and here we are in Mercury retrograde. People complain about Mercury retrograde, but I'm going to talk about a little bit about Mercury, which, by the way, you see right in front of you. Even though this is a spiritual message that I'm sending out, I do have the Magician in front of your face, don't I? The Magician is ruled by Mercury in tarot, and Mercury rules both zodiac signs, Gemini and Virgo. And Mercury is the planet of fast communication, technology. So they always say when it's in retrograde, you shouldn't be signing any contracts. You have little problems with gadgets and electronics. Communication may be missed. But, I thought about this while I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to say and what I'm researching to do this part 2 video called Oneness. And I like the fact that we're in Mercury retrograde, and I think it's because Mercury is in Scorpio and my Mercury is in Scorpio. I do talk about birth charts, by the way. I have videos on birth charts if anybody is like wondering what that means. But Mercury, like I said, is a planet of communication. But when Mercury, the fact that Mercury is in Scorpio right now, and my Mercury is in Scorpio on my birth chart, however it is retrograding, it has been, my creative juices has been flowing. And I've always had a huge imagination, and I can be creative in writing especially. But it's my downloads are ridiculous. So bear with me because I am going full throttle in this video. And if anybody knows Mercury and Scorpio, yeah. Okay. I wanted to start with a quote from one of my favorite historical figures. Love him. Albert Einstein. A person experiences life as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. Our task must be to free ourselves from this self-imposed prison, and through compassion, to find the reality of oneness. Albert Einstein. Yes, Albert Einstein. I love him. He was a future forward thinker. He died decades ago. For those who don't know him, I'm talking to my younger audience, obviously. But yeah, he pretty much changed science, especially when it comes to quantum physics, which is another thing I love studying. All right, so here we go. We are in the age of Aquarius, right? I do say that sometimes. You know, I have videos linked to the age of Aquarius. I may not call them age of Aquarius, but they all, like, the age of Aquarius is just an umbrella of, and then I have like these little video contents that you know, I put out here and there, but it all literally is all under the age of Aquarius, the umbrella of age of Aquarius, and it's, you know, just research that I like to share with you guys under this constellation, this forthcoming knowledge, the age of reasoning. And what is oneness? What does that mean, oneness? Well, it's all forms are one part of an intelligent consciousness. Sorry if I'm slurring, it's late. But I always do slur on that word consciousness for some reason. So all forms are one part of an intelligent consciousness. Energy and form is infinite. Energy and form is infinite. Energy and form. So form meaning a particular way in which a thing or person exists or manifest. Manifest, the magician. So, yeah, so like I said, I am going to be talking about science, religion, and spirituality. And let's talk about Mercury and Scorpio again. You know, just because we are literally, besides the fact that I have my Mercury and Scorpio, we are in Mercury and Scorpio. And Mercury and Scorpio represents hidden secrets and intuition. That's just two things. A lot more, but those are just two things. And so that's what I want to really get at. I want to get into the hidden secret and the intuition of history and within ourselves. Now here we have the magician. This is in my new Mythic Tarot. The magician is a major arcana. It's number 1 in all major arcanas in the tarot deck. They all have different images. In my new Mythic, this is the image. I have a few tarot decks, but I wanted to particularly choose this one for a reason. Now, if you look at the picture, I hope you can see it from here, but there is 2 paths, right? You can see it? One path goes this way, the other path goes that way. Now, in front of him are some tools, elements: earth, air, water, fire. Isn't that the zodiac signs, constellations? Air, water, fire, earth. Those are the tools in front of this magician, this man. I'm going to be talking about spirit, and I'm going to be talking about flesh. One path is spirit, one path is flesh. Spirit and flesh, tools, the magician. So I'm going to have this in front of your face because that's what my whole video is going to be about. Not about this little guy right here, but it's going to enlighten you and hold on to the wisdom of that which life is. You are life. You are the manifester. You are the magician. And your thoughts will start to unfold and create once I start talking about the shit I'm about to talk about. You're gonna be like, what the? So I apologize in advance if I offend anyone. You're more than welcome to click off. But I do want to enlighten you with becoming more spiritual, okay? It's very important because I was raised as a Catholic, and people, use the word spirituality very loosely, but it does have a lot to do with your conscious, not with religion. So the optical delusion that Einstein is referring to some extent, does represent the parallel worlds we live in. We live in two parallel worlds, two Earths. Yeah, I said it. No, I'm not on drugs or LSD right now. There is two parallel worlds. Spirit, flesh, consciousness, body. Flesh versus consciousness. We use our five senses. What are our five senses, guys? Help me out here. Listening, hearing, sight, taste, touch, right? We use it to attach our consciousness to this world, right? We use these senses to attach ourselves to this world. But when you practice meditation or yoga or both, and you eat right, you know what eating right means. Come on. I mean, once in a while we can indulge in some sweets and, big ribeye. But in the end, we do need to take care of our bodies. That all has to do with spirituality, the awakening of ourselves, right? Of the spirit. And inside our human bodies. And how do we do that besides eating right and meditating and practicing yoga? Well, we have chakras. Now, Jesus, I'm going to talk about him later, but I do want to say this, that in case you didn't know this, Jesus was a yogi. He studied yoga and he taught yoga, and he was all about meditation. He was a healer. And the chakras is the alignment of your mind, body, and soul. You have 7 chakras. I'm going to go a little technical on you, but then I'll explain it in first grade language. And then I'm not making fun of anyone. I like to do this. I don't like to make things difficult. I make my life difficult. I don't like to make other people's life difficult. All right. So how do we align our chakras? Well, let me just say that the chakras that we have, there's 7 of them. 9 if you count your right and left hand, but mostly 7. It's what the popular way of aligning your chakras. And it starts with the pelvic pelvis. The pelvic pelvis. That's the pelvic pelvis. This is Mercury in retrograde, guys. What I meant to say was pelvic plexus. The hypogastric plexus, the solar plexus, the cardiac plexus, the carotid plexus, the medullary plexus, the cerebral gland, I should say. These are the 7 chakras. So what does that mean? That is the spine, your central nervous system, the root, your sacral area, your solar plexus, your heart plexus, your throat plexus, third eye, crown. I'm sure that's more popular here in the States. We use those terms more in the States. Um, but I want you to close your eyes if you can, and don't fall asleep on me because I know people have told me that my voice sounds like I'm hypnotizing people, and they end up falling asleep. But just close your eyes because I want you to practice this with me. I want you to try to open up your chakras because opening up your chakras is part of like just a step, this one step of becoming one with yourself. When you close your eyes, if you can, if you cannot, that's fine. Just concentrate on the body parts while you listen. Okay? Now the spine, the root chakra, represents the earth. It deals with the survival, but is blocked by fear. Surrender your fears. This is the spine. This is your central nervous system. The fight or flight. Number 2, sacral. Sacral deals with pleasure, but is usually blocked by guilt. Forgive yourself and those who have hurt you. Number 3, your solar plexus represents fire. It's located in the stomach. It's blocked by shame and disappointments. Find your self-worth and confidence. Number 4, heart. The heart chakra represents water. Deals with love, but is blocked by grief and sadness. A lost will always be reborn in a new love. We all lose loved ones, and sometimes our relationship just don't end up working out the way we wanted it to. But it is always reborn in a new love. It represents self-discipline, our ability to love again, the inner peace that we seek. Number 5, the throat chakra. Air represents air. It's located in the center of the neck. There's 2 arteries there. And then these are blocked by lies and deception. Accept the truth and do not become arrogant. Number 6, the third eye. This is the intuition. It deals with insight that may or may not be blocked by illusions. The ability to see the big picture. Think outside the box, or better yet, remove the box altogether. The crown, which is your brain. It represents the attachment to people, money, habits, closed-minded. Learn to let it go. You need to be connected to spirit and not the flesh. So in case those who've never heard of chakras before, or don't practice meditating, or know nothing of yoga, this is how you begin to become one with yourself. You have to learn yourself. You have to let go, forgive, build self-confidence, and know that with self-discipline, you will find a new love, whatever that is to you. You can manifest these things. The tools are there. earth, fire, water, air. These are the chakras I was just telling you about. We can manifest this. So which route are you choosing? Spirit or flesh? Because you can only choose one to become divine. Let's move on because I'm just getting started. Yeah, I am. Now, speaking of spirit, let's talk about Jesus. Or whatever name your faith goes by, you know, Allah, Yahweh. It is the Son of God, right? I did say that he was a yogi. You know, there's a big portion. I was raised as a Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I read the Bible. I had Bible classes. I did a few of my, was baptized. What else? Communion, confirmation, sacraments. I did most of it, not all. But that doesn't matter, right? Because we all have different religions and ways to go about it. But in the end, like I was talking about the video that I made with the one religion, one truth, one race. This is just an extension of that video. This video is an extension of that video. And even if you didn't hear my first video, that's fine. I'll leave the link below so that you could click on it and watch it. In the description box, I'll leave it. And so, but this is just really an extension, a more profound, in-depth, intense, and I'm just scraping the surface, so I don't even know why I'm saying intense, but it can be for some people. Some people are not really open-minded. It's difficult for them to detach themselves from the plane once in a while, you know. So I get it. If you're about to like become, I don't know, whatever it is that you become when you learn new information. All right. So yes, he was a yogi. I love saying that word. Jesus was a yogi. Yes, but he had the skill and he was proficient in the knowledge of yoga. He spent half his life studying this, teaching it, fasting. And like I said, in the Bible, there's a chunk of Jesus' life missing. Like, what did he do for half of his life? Yeah, it's not really said in the Bible, is it? There's a lot of metaphors in the Bible. There's a lot. And if you can't think outside the box or remove that box entirely, you're going to take it for face value, right? But he did travel a lot of Asia, what Asia was back then, India mostly. And so he learned this. He taught it. Now, guess what? I know this is going to be crazy, but you know how the Bible talks about the second coming? The second coming of Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, whatever your faith goes by, if you even believe in the second coming at all. But the second coming is you. You, who I'm talking to you, my viewers. Us people, we. We are the second coming. And Jesus preached about it constantly. And he said that we are only open to the five senses, right? I was talking about the five senses in our body. So we are born this way. It's not our fault that we are created to be divine in a malfunctioning body. Flesh is flesh, spirit is spirit. This is the parallel worlds that I was talking about that exist, the timelines, the energy shifts, the Mandela effect. Please let me know in the comments if you heard about the Mandela effect. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Butterfly Effect. The Butterfly Effect with oh God, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Ashton Kutcher? Oh gosh, sorry if I said that wrong. I know his name, I just can't remember how you say his first name anymore. Kutcher, the guy that was married to Demi Moore, the 70s show guy. He was in that movie, and it was a very interesting movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It's really weird, mind-blowing. This is the Mandela effect. Mandela effect is when the course of history is changed. I'll give you an example. Now, my father loved Sinbad. Does anybody know who Sinbad is? He's like a comedian. He's not alive anymore. But he was a very famous, somewhat famous, not very, but somewhat famous, definitely in the United States, comedian and he made a movie called Shazam. And my father loved Sinbad. And I remember my father saying, oh, I want to watch this movie. And I wasn't really a Sinbad fan. I mean, I watched The Real World. It was a spinoff of The Cosby Show. And he was in that show. But, you know, I mean, I really didn't want to watch his movies. But he did do a few movies, and he was actually really good at it. He did one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and I think Queen Latifah. Anyway, the point is that he came out with a movie called Shabam. He was a genie in this movie, and it was like 2 kids and stuff like that. I don't remember the details of the movies, and I don't even think I even watched it with my dad. I know that he wanted to watch it. I remember that feeling of him like, oh, he wants to watch this movie because he likes this comedian a lot. Do you know that that movie does not exist? It was never made. But yet, I'm sitting here talking to you, telling you that I remember the feeling of my father and the conversation of him saying, I want to watch that movie. It's coming on tonight. Maybe we should watch it tonight. And I don't remember watching it with him. I don't remember the movie. I remember what it's about, you know, more or less. So fast forward a few years later, Shaquille O'Neal comes out with a movie called Kazam. Same storyline. He's a genie. His 2 kids are in it. You know, it's a family movie. So everybody knows that movie. Everybody knows the Kazam movie. I mean, I'm not talking like everybody knows that movie, but the point is that if you Google it, it's there. It's like, oh yeah, the Kazam. That's with Shaquille O'Neal, you know? Just like Space Jam, you know? And people will remember this movie, or Google it and you can find it, you know, on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, you know, like you'll be able to find it. You will not be able to find the movie Shazam. It is non-existent. It is erased from our memories, basically recalled. Now, the Mandela effect, I'm going to be fucked by saying this, but I'm going to fucking say it because I don't care. let's move on with this shit because I'm on a roll now. If nobody knows what the Mandela effect is, like I said, watch the movie The Butterfly Effect. It's just a course of history that was altered or changed. Now, I didn't know what the Mandela effect was. I heard about it, but when I started researching, I found out what it was. And the Mandela effect is, everybody knows who Nelson Mandela is, right? I think a lot of people know at this point. He is a world leader. I mean, he was known. He's taught and when I say everybody, it's because the United States, we teach our children about Nelson Mandela and who he was, and especially when it's Black History Month. And so Nelson Mandela, if anybody doesn't know, was imprisoned unlawfully when the apartheid movement was happening in South Africa. And he was imprisoned. That's like imprisoning basically Martin Luther King for the civil rights movement. And he was imprisoned a couple of times, but imprisoning him for decades. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for decades for fighting for a cause that he believed in. And so he was imprisoned for decades. And I can't remember what age he was when he finally got out of prison. I want to say in his 60s. He eventually ended up being president or prime minister, I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong, of South Africa. And he died. He just recently died. I can't remember what year he died. It was in the last few years. He died. Now, Nelson Mandela, people remember Nelson Mandela funeral. And I'm not talking about the recent funeral. I'm talking about the funeral that happened in the 80s, in the 1980s. Nelson Mandela, people remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison. People remember his casket. People remember how people were overflowed with emotions because this person that fought for a great cause died in prison. Remember, I said he was imprisoned for fighting for a movement that he believed in. He died in the 80s, but yet people don't remember that. Some people do. Most people don't. Now, I told you I'm kind of, I could teleport myself sometimes. I'm clairsentient. I feel energy, I pick up energy. And I wanted to research this because I don't know too much of Nelson Mandela. I mean, I'm from the United States, not from Africa. So, and Nelson Mandela wasn't really taught when I was younger. I mean, he was mentioned, but not really taught like we teach our children, like schools teach our children now about who he is. And so I closed my eyes and I started meditating because I have my chakras open. And so it's easy for me. Not that easy, but I'm getting there. So I asked a question, and I was like, Spirit, when did Nelson Mandela die? Because I remember him on television and being the president of South Africa. Spirit tells me he died in his jail cell. And not only do I hear it, but I see it. Clear as day. This man asking for help. He was sick. I don't know if it was some type of cold that developed into pneumonia or something of the sort, bronchitis. He was asking for help, medical help. They refused medical help to this man, and he died in his prison cell. This is what I saw. This was my vision. And so, hence, the Mandela effect. Nelson Mandela died in his cell, in his jail cell, back in the 1980s. But we don't remember that because time shifts were altered. The parallel world. You don't believe in parallel worlds, do you? That's okay. Because quantum physics explains a lot of it. I mean, you know, the fundamental theory that reveals this basic oneness with the universe, it has to do with quantum physics. And that's why I wanted to open up my video with Albert Einstein, because he was about to reveal something. Besides the fact that he had all these theories and was a smart man, I loved him because I think he was a Gemini, if I remember correctly. This man, let me tell you, as smart as he was, he lived his life the way he wanted to. He cheated on his wives constantly. It's like, what? I want to see somebody else. I love you, but I want to see someone else. I said it just like that, like it was not a problem. And his wives understood, I guess. I mean, they were upset, but, you know, he was Einstein. That's who he was. Had bigger problems to conquer besides the little mundane relationships of life. There's a couple of other movies I wanted to mention. Limitless with Bradley Cooper. I don't know when this came out. I want to say 2010, 2011. Limitless. Robert De Niro is in it too. Limitless is a movie about a man who, I don't know how he came. I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie in many years, but he comes to find this drug. I don't know if he bought it or if he took it by accident and then he wanted more of it, but it opened up his mind. He had the ability all of a sudden to become a superhuman. Lucy is another movie with Scarlett Johansson. This came out a few years ago. Not even 5 years ago. I would say 3-4 years ago, maybe. Scarlett Johansson in this movie, her character plays a drug trafficker, a smuggler, I would say. She didn't know that she was about to smuggle some drugs, but it wasn't a drug. It was actually a hormone that people wanted to make into a drug. These mafia people, these cartel, and this drug gives you, again, superhuman. It opens up your brain, gives you power. It ends up being in her blood. They smuggle it in. By the way, they open her up and put it inside her body. That's how they smuggle the drug, the hormone. It's not a drug, it's a hormone. It's a hormone. It's a hormone that exists when women are conceiving. I want to say the word conceiving a fetus inside their body, like that moment where the fetus becomes a fetus. Women produce this hormone to basically carry a human being in their uterus, and these drug smugglers, these drug traffickers, these drugs people, were able to obtain it, and Scarlett Johansson's character was carrying it inside her body, and I think she was kicked several times, and ended up, the bag ended up opening up and spilling into her blood, and this is how she became like this superhuman. Like within a day or two, she was reading books. And, oh God, you should see the movie. I'm not gonna go into it, but the word superhuman comes to mind. So when I talk about spirituality and meditation and opening up your chakras, this is the effect that you have to become one, to become divine. You know, they tell us that we can't use all of our brain cells. We can't, it's impossible. We don't have the ability. But yet I see people such as myself and others, and some people use it, you know, for show business. They may have the ability, but they should really show it off. And some people, you know, quietly walk around being clairaudient, being having some type of psychic ability. That's using a lot of your brain. We have the ability to use a lot of our brain. Maybe not all at once, yes. Not like, you know, in the movie Limitless and Lucy, where it is they're using their brain all at once. But we are able to tap into each part of our brains. All of it. Not just 16, 17% of it. All of it. One at a time. Listen, humans have existed for 66 million years. 66 million years. We're in the year 2020 AD, if people still use that word. And no, that reference. You know, you don't think that there were human beings smarter than us living? You don't think we're descendants of superhumans and gods, demigods? This is why I come out with videos like Bloodlines. Because if you don't become this divine person that God really wants you to become, your bloodline will dissipate. It would not survive in the next generation, or the generation after that, or the generation after that. And for those who don't believe in reincarnation because of your faith, or you think it's a myth, or because it's a lack of evidence, that's fine. But I'm here to tell you that your birth chart is a blueprint of who you are, who you used to be, why you're here, and what you need to conquer. And if you just got lost there by me mentioning birth chart, I apologize. Like I said, my channel is all about astrology and tarot card reading. But let's talk about birth charts just for a little bit, because I don't want to use the time to talk about birth charts. I have birth chart videos if you guys want to click on it. You're more than welcome to learn about what they are. I do mention it in a baby type of way, like, you know, birth chart 101. I'm not an astrologer, so I'm only telling you this because everybody goes by their sun sign and they're like, oh yes, I'm a Libra or a Capricorn, but it doesn't end there. You know, we have our inner feelings, the moon. We're energy. Remember, I was talking about energy. We are all connected. Electricity runs through our body. Water runs through our body. We are all connected. We're connected because energy is infinite, matter is infinite, and so the planets does affect us, including the moon. So the moon is your feelings, you know. Mercury is what I was talking about earlier. It's a planet of communication, you know. Birth chart will tell you what house it sits in. The planet affects the house. I said that my Mercury was in Scorpio. Guess what Scorpio is all about? Hidden secrets, the unknown, psychology. Yes, I'm going to sit here and talk about what I just talked about because my fucking Mercury is in Scorpio. Now, does that mean only Mercury and Scorpio people talk about shit like this? No, they don't. But if you know the 12 zodiac signs, Aries through Pisces, and you know your birth chart, I always leave the link on the description box, and it's pretty easy. You just have to know your date of birth, where you were born. Time is important because it does give you your ascending, which is pretty much the mask that you wear sometimes during the day. It will tell you basically who you are. Astro.cafeastrology.com or /natal chart, I should say. I'll leave the link. You may not be able to click on it, but just write it down and it'll lead you to the birth chart. But it does give you a blueprint of your journey, of who you are, and the journey that you're supposed to take in life. And for those who do know their birth chart, I'll give you a little fun fact. So we're talking about reincarnation, right? I didn't digress. It sounded like that for a minute, but I didn't. Reincarnation, I talk about it all the time. Not all the time, but I do talk about it because it's in your birth chart. A good astrologer will tell you, if you pay those few $100s, what your past life was about and what you need to conquer in this life, and whether or not you may come back in the next. We are taught to be divine because we don't want to come back to earth. We want to be divine. We want to be with the divinity. We want to be with God. We want to be whatever comes after that. Heaven, they call it, right? So Aries, Taurus, and Gemini are basically the spring babies and children of the zodiac wheel. If you have a lot of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini in your chart, expect to come back. You still need to get to learn the process of being one with yourself. If you have Cancer, Leo, Virgo, a lot in your chart, repeat it. Now, Cancer, Leo, Virgos are the teenagers or the young adults of the zodiac wheel. This is what it represents. These are the houses. I'm not saying you're a teenager or a child. I'm just saying these are what the houses represent, the constellation. Expect to come back. Now, if you have Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius in your chart, repeat it. This is we're now in the adult, like that midlife, ready to retire, celebrating your, 25th anniversary. You're thinking about, what are you going to do when you retire? That's the, I call it the adult midlife part of the zodiac sign. You're pretty much, it's all about interpersonal relationships and knowledge and the unknown, right? We don't know what's going to come out. Like, we don't know what's going to happen next, but we're ready for it. We lived our life. We lived our childhood. We lived or years, and now we're either looking forward to getting older or not. But this is what these 3 signs of the zodiac wheel represents. You may end up coming back. Depends on your ascending, on your Saturn, a few other placements. Now, if you have Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, either in your ascending, Sun, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and it's repeated throughout your chart, there's a pretty good chance you may not come back. You've learned your lesson. You've conquered what you needed to conquer. And so my video here today is just to teach you this, okay? Not to throw shame at anyone because of their birth charts. Listen, you don't think you think this is my first life in this life? Not. It's a process. It's a process. There's even such a thing as a new seed, someone that's never been born in this plane at all. Their birth chart must have like all Geminis and Aries and Taurus and Cancer all over their chart. But that's the way it works. That's birth charts. That's why astrologers can read into it. A good one, a real good one, can tell you. Oh, that was a fun, interesting topic, wasn't it? All right, let's move on to the video. All right, well, I'm gonna start wrapping this up, folks. But in the book of John, chapter 3, verse 3, it does explain that we are destined to migrate until we have our spiritual birth. It does. Migrate. So you come in to this earth, and hopefully you've learned your lesson and you've conquered where you needed to conquer, and you've become one. You use all these elements to become one, these tools to become one. Leave flesh behind and be one with yourself. Higher conscious awakening of the spirit, and leave the flesh behind. And then that's it. There is no crossing over anymore. You've become divine. You are the magician. In tarot, of course. But it does say it in the Bible. I talk about the metaphors in the Bible, right? It's the metaphors, it's figure of speech. But if you don't look at it the way Jesus told his prophets to write it, or the way it was written, you're gonna miss out on a few things. For example, the Gospel of James. I'll read one verse to you. It says, "Truly I say to you, none will be saved unless they believe in my cross. But those who have believed in my cross, theirs is the kingdom of God." What do you think that cross means? Do you think the cross means the cross where he was nailed to and stabbed? Or is it the cross of one lifetime to another? I'll read it again. "Truly I say to you, none will be saved unless they believe in my cross. But those who have believed in my cross, theirs is the kingdom of heaven." theirs is the kingdom of God. Gospel of James. This is the process of dissolving your ego, folks, and becoming divine. It is a process you have to go through. It's a process you have to go through for many lifetimes to realize this. We have to stop putting flesh on a pedestal. And that could be anything. That could be anyone. But the teachings, for example, the crazy shit I talk about sometimes. For example, this video was kind of way off, wasn't it? Isn't that a Mercury and Scorpio video? All right. You know, these are the teachings that Christ and his prophets, and not just, you know, and you know, that one religion, that one race, that one truth that I talk about in my other video, that's what it really all comes down to. And it's just the teachings that we should really put on a pedestal, right? What we learn, how we have to open our mind, that chakra. It is revealed that even Jesus had a past life. Hebrew historians recognizes this. John the Baptist is the anticipated precursor of Jesus. Jesus, however, when he was alive, he made it clear that the miracle worker and prophet Elijah is John the Baptist, and that Elijah appeared with Moses during the transfiguration of Jesus. You know, that is debatable in different religions, but the Hebrew religion definitely recognizes the fact that John the Baptist is a precursor of Jesus. And when Jesus said that Elijah is John the Baptist, I mean, he's talking about the miracle worker, the prophet. He's talking about himself in another lifetime. And there is such a thing as a transfiguration of Jesus, actually. It's a Christ appearance in this glorious state. And it's celebrated in some cultures, actually. They do acknowledge the fact that Jesus is a reincarnation. He was a normal human being, but he knew how to become one with himself. And that's how you reach divinity. The awakening of a spiritual consciousness. All right, I'm going to click off. I'm sorry if the video took a little longer. I thought it was going to be a short video, but that's okay. Listen, tell me in the comments, you know, if this interested you at all. You know I'm going to keep talking about shit like this because I love being the devil's advocate. You know, me sparking some debate. But that's okay. I love debating. But I would love to know what you thought about it. And if you want me to make any future videos on anything that I touched on in this video, any insight you would like to know. All right. Bye, everyone.